I believe in America. America has made my fortune. And I raised my daughter in the American fashion. I gave her freedom, but I taught her never to dishonor her family. I went to the police like a good American. These two boys were brought to trial. The judge sentenced them to 3 years in prison and suspended the sentence. Suspended the sentence? They went free that very day. I stood in the courtroom like a fool. And those two bastards, they smiled at me. Then I said to my wife, for justice, we must go to
The Cat's Father.
What do you want of me? Tell me anything, but do what I beg you to do.
So you say you would do anything for justice? Well, I want more views, more subscribers on YouTube. And next time, come to the Cat Father first. Because we're going to get into the reason why I am obsessed with one of my favorite genres of movies, period. And I'm going to go through 5 movies that really made me think when I was young that I could really be part of the mafia without being Italian, and I could probably kill somebody. I probably really couldn't though. Welcome back, and I hope that you don't find these intros too stupid, but I just love doing this shit. It's really fun to me. But seriously, mafia movies are my #1 favorite genre of movies. I am obsessed with the mafia. And these 5 movies, I actually picked out 5 that I own that I actually seen, and these are the orders that I seen these movies in. Now, like I said, growing up, my father was one of the strictest people, so there were a lot of times where I had to sneak off to either friends' houses or most of all my cousin Eddie's house, because we used to just watch all these rated R movies and all sorts of shit. Or when I went over to my grandmother's, because she was busy off doing other things, and I would just sneak into her collection of little VHS movies that she had, and I'd pop them in, and man, I will tell you, when I seen the power and the fact that you could be a boss and you could make all this money, man, my eyes went cha-ching. And I really thought that I could be part of the mafia. Not knowing when I was a kid that you had to be Italian or any of that. And I was just like, I can do this. Especially after seeing Sugar Hill, which is kind of mafia related. You know, it has mafia segments in it. If you don't know, Sugar Hill starring Wesley Snipes, absolutely phenomenal movie. But I consider that more of like a hood/gangster movie because, you know, the come up of Wesley Snipes' character, Romeo, and it's not really like a full-fledged mafia movie. So we're going to get into the first one. And the very first time I popped this VHS in, the very first thing I heard was,
as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
that's right, Goodfellas. When I first seen this movie, this is the very first mafia movie I ever seen. And I mean, when it comes to mafia movies, I will say hands down, this is the perfect movie. Martin Scorsese just totally killed this movie when it comes to directing, his vision, his everything. And there are so many backstories to this movie. I mean, it is just fantastic. When I was growing up, you know, after we had moved back to the projects, it was just kind of like one of those things where I was just like, man, I wish I could feel that power and like have people fear me and like have those kind of, you know, balls to whack somebody. I swear, I could have been Well, just as tough as Nicky in Casino, because there was one point in my life where I really thought I could be this fucking crazy.
Why don't you take that fucking pen and shove it up your ass, you fucking jag off?
Yes, that movie is Casino. This was the second movie I ever seen Mafia related, and I absolutely fell in love with this one. Robert De Niro, I've been watching Robert De Niro for a long time. He is just like a spectacular actor, no matter what role you put him in. But when I seen Nicky's character in here, Joe Pesci, I was really like, yo, I can do that. And it just kind of like made this like, where do I find the mafia? Like, where do I find these people? Not knowing that the state that I was living in Massachusetts, was one of the biggest crime families. And I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to get whacked. I used to go through downtown Springfield, and we had like this little part of downtown Springfield was just all Italians. And I mean, you would see hitmen out there. You would see mafia bosses. You would see dons. You would see dudes that you don't want to run into in a back alleyway. It is just like mesmerizing. And I remember being a kid, and my mom, she worked downtown, and I would have to, go to work with her sometimes. And I remember just like gazing out of the side window of the car and saying, I want to stop. I know I could be a part of this damn family, and I could prove myself. And that's how crazy obsessed I was, because I eventually wanted to be like this next movie I'm going to get into, because this one is one that a lot of people haven't seen, but god damn is it a good movie.
Florida. I don't see DB. DB ain't here.
DB ain't here. I know some of you come from upstate in Connecticut and Jersey. I'm not gonna keep you here. I heard some of you's talking. Nobody knows who killed Frank and Chico. You're the Gambino family. And don't you ever fucking believe that anyone, anywhere is gonna fuck with us.
Yes, I'm talking about Gotti. Now, please do not, and I repeat, do not watch that garbage ass John Travolta one. I don't know what they were thinking. It doesn't even hold a candlestick to this actual original movie. I believe this first came out HBO, and I can't get enough of this. And I love like all the scenes, especially like, to me, when I seen this movie and I seen like he was not only a mafia boss, but he was not afraid to whack and take out whoever he wanted to. He had one of the biggest crime families, the Gambinos, and I just was like, my God, I want that power. I want that respect. I want that fear, because in the long run, to me, I didn't really see like all the bad things that can happen, because when you're young, you're very influenced, just like the guy that grows up in the projects like moi. I used to watch the neighborhood drug dealer roll up in a Mercedes or a BMW because they were so big back then. If you rolled up in a 5 Series in my neighborhood, I mean, not knowing that they were actual idiots, because these guys would get caught because they're buying all these expensive cars. But I mean, like, literally hopping out, and they would be in Gucci or Louis Vuitton. I mean, there was even one dealer that was in my old neighborhood in Forest Park that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I used to hear he went to Dapper Dan to get all of his like Gucci shit, like all the custom clothes that he had. He used to drive all the way to New York and get his shit straight from Dapper Dan. Now, if you don't know who Dapper Dan is, at one time he was a bootlegger for the Hood, in New York, and then he got busted and he got like a cease and desist by all these different companies, Gucci, Louis Vuitton. He was taking like all these high luxury brands, taking off the leather and then just putting patches and all sorts of stuff and flipping it. And through all that and how he made his money, Dapper Dan now continues to this day to work for these big companies because his ideas were just ahead of their time and absolutely brilliant. And like I said, when I seen that not only could you be popular with this movie, how John Gotti was, but you could also still run around and be untouchable, because like I said, I didn't see the endings of these movies and what happens. And even when they went to jail, they were living the life. Look at Goodfellas. When they went to jail, they were eating lobster. He's cutting up the garlic with razor blades and like making it so thin that it dissolves into it. And just the performances were so powerful in all these movies I'm going to mention that it just was mesmerizing to me, especially, and I think a lot of it has to do with when you grow up with, you know, living off of welfare. And I mean, I remember paper food stamps. I was so damn embarrassed going to the corner store, and now looking back at it, I was like, why the fuck was I embarrassed? You know, everybody else in my projects was doing the same damn thing. So it's just, like I said, this is the reason why I got so obsessed with mafia and families and like really wanting to be organized and make money and be in power. In this next movie that I'm going to mention, I've done a life lessons on it and I absolutely love it. And if you haven't caught that life lessons, I'll throw it right here. And I encourage you to go check that out because this movie holds a lot of life lessons. Here's one of them.
Look at this guy. How about him? Hey, straight ahead. How about this guy? Is it him? Give me an answer.
You satisfied, officer?
No, I'm not satisfied.
You don't know, we can't help.
Yeah, I know. Your son doesn't know anything. I know all about it.
You said no, we can't help.
I'll tell you what, take a walk. Go ahead. Go ahead. Take a walk. Go ahead.
Let's go.
We fooled him, Dad. We really fooled him.
Yeah, we fooled him.
I didn't rat, Dad. I didn't rat.
No, you didn't rat.
I did a good thing, right?
Yeah, you did a good thing. You did a good thing for a bad man.
I did a good thing for a bad man.
Yes, A Bronx Tale. Now, this was another one that I used to see on HBO all the time. My dad, he used to work for Continental Cable, and there were times where when he went off to work, we got free cable. We had all the pay channels. So I used to sneak off and, you know, I used to watch HBO when he wasn't home and I didn't have school. And this movie had came on at one time, and again, I saw Robert De Niro, and I was just like, oh, I know that actor. So that's why I stopped on the movie. And I think I caught it like a quarter of the way through already. But this movie is just such a beautiful piece of film, like history, when it comes to mafia movies. Sonny, he had 5 fingers. Well, I only have 4.5. But he only used 3. And it was just so mesmerizing. The fear that people like had for Sonny was just something that I wanted. When you grow up in poverty and poor and, you know, you're living off of mac and cheese and meatloaf because that was the cheapest thing to get, and government cheese and cutting that door wedge, it was just, you wanted everything you couldn't have. And power, respect, and money is just something that I didn't have at that time. And I wanted it so bad. Like I said, it got to the point where I was like, I'll off somebody if that means I can get into this family and be a hitman. Because I really thought like that. I really thought I could take a life and not really worry about it, knowing that it takes. And last but not least, this was the last mafia movie that I've seen that is an absolute special kind of masterpiece. Now, do I think that this is the number one Mafia movie? No, I will say that in my opinion, Goodfellas is my favorite, and it's probably because it was the first movie I seen. I did a little parody of it in the beginning of the video, but I'm going to tell you, The Godfather. I absolutely love The Godfather. It is just, it's very long. I will say that, but quick shout out. I want to thank Tony, because if it wasn't for Tony watching his review, Tony over at Basement Blues, I would have never thought to buy this steel book. But this, once I seen his review on the steel book, if you don't know who that is, I will link him down below, because that's how much I love. He does the best reviews when it comes to like quick. If you don't have a lot of time and you don't really want to get deep into it, you just want to see what the inside looks like, what the artwork is, Tony is your man to go to. So I would link him down below. But I remember watching this, and this, because I was older when I seen this movie, this is where I realized that A, I'm not a killer. B, I could never be the head of a mafia family. And C, when you are a boss, a Don, a Godfather, you're more inclined to get whacked, because there's always somebody underneath you that wants your power. And that's why John Gotti got into the trouble that he got into, because he wanted that power. But this is the movie that really made me realize that I wouldn't be cut out to be a mafia boss or a mafia hitman or anything like that. But this movie is just absolutely spectacular. And, you know, there was that point where I remember when he said, you know, it's right on the back here, I'm going to make him an offer that he can't refuse. It's just, once again, seeing that power, I wanted it so bad. But when that scene of the Don, you know, attempt on assassinating him, that's where, like I said, I was older and I was just like, oh shit, wait a minute. You mean like somebody could take me out? Even if I was so good to my people and just great, but because I didn't want to do one deal that they're going to try to, you know, totally erase my existence? Nah, that ain't for me. And I mean, I will tell you, you know, I have been in a gang, and I was strictly in it for the love, because I felt like, you know, brotherly love. And I will not mention the gang. That will stay with me. A very select few people know, but they wouldn't tell you either. They would keep their mouth zipped. But you know, when I was younger, the guys that I used to run with, they were wild. Like, I mean, listen, the dudes up in Forest Park, where I come from, they don't call us Killer Field for nothing. It was like they would whoop your ass in a minute. And I ran with these dudes. So we started Mafioso because we were so like crazy about Biggie. And they kind of like, you know, Biggie used to mention like Mafia all the time and Mafioso. And we started that street gang. And for a while, we were about 15 deep. We had a nice little thing going. And at that particular time, even though it wasn't ran like a mafia, you know, like organization, because we just weren't that smart, we were young, dumb kids. It was just one of those things where for like, you know, like a split second, I was like, I have power. Like, I'm walking around. We had orange and black. That was our colors. And we were walking around like we couldn't be touched. Like, literally, we were walking around like we had immunity. And knowing that one day we were really thinking in our heads that we could be you know, we could start this family up and create our own family with a whole mixed race, because we had Spanish dudes in it, we had black dudes in it, we had mulattoes like myself. So it was just one of those things where when we started that street gang, like I said, we were young, dumb, and I just was like, yo, I have that power now because I was third in command. And I was like, nobody can touch me. And I wasn't even number one or number two. I was the third in command. So people used to come to me like, yo, what you want to do about this situation? And because at that point, where I'm from, you were either real or you were fake. And I was like, yo, let's go do what we got to do. So, I've had my karma, my returns. So that's why, when I got into my later teens and, my early 20s, I really started to shape up and mold the person that I am today because I don't want all that karma. And although no good deed goes unpunished, I still feel good about the person that I've become. And like I said, sometimes you'll do so many good things for a person and then they just go away. And, I kind of look at it in that aspect of they weren't really my friends. They were just people that were around at the time. And that's why I watch what I say to certain people. But the friends that I have now in this great community that I've grown to love, I'm here for y'all. Once again, DM me if you got any issues or questions or you want to team up and do a top 5. I've got a lot of different people lined up for a top 5 to do some videos with me. Speaking of, Wednesday will be the part 4 of my last of the series of cars I would love to own if I hit the lottery. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I hope I didn't bore you too much. Most people don't even make it to the end anyways, but I hope you like the shirt because, I am the cat father and I absolutely love animals, as y'all know. Anyways, I'll see you on Wednesday. And then Sunday, I'm hoping it comes in on time. But if it does, I have got a review that you are not going to want to miss because I have been waiting for months for this shit. So I'm hoping that it comes in. If it doesn't, I guess I really can't cry over spilt milk, but if it does, oh my God, you are in for a treat on Sunday's review video. But in case, I'm going to make a backup video and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't have to. Y'all just have to tune in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you haven't, bell notification if you like what you see. And don't forget, I always like to mention, not always, but most of the time, 85% of the time, I will always mention other channels in the description. I know a lot of people don't read the descriptions. I don't know why. I always click on more. There's great affiliate links down there. There's all sorts of stuff from other channels, other creators that they shout out. So make sure you hit that description button and go and have a blast. I will see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. You love me. You